All right, guys, welcome back. Welcome back. Excited to have you back with us. Thanks for tuning in and sharing this with friends and keeping this thing growing. So, looking forward to this episode today. But before we dive in, rather than read a review of the week or anything, I thought I would just jump out with something that maybe this one speaks directly to you, or maybe you could share it with somebody. And maybe you've heard this one somewhere before, but do not be anxious about anything, but in every situation, by prayer and petition, with thanksgiving, present your request to God. And the peace of God, which transcends all understanding, will guard your hearts and your minds in Christ Jesus. So that comes from Philippians 4, 6 through 7. Probably a lot of you guys already know that one, but if that hasn't been on your mind lately, check that one out. And if you guys are anxious, that's one of those things that comes along, but we keep being told over and over and over again, don't be anxious, trust me. I heard a short prayer the other day that I thought was cool. It was just simple. It was, Dear Lord, I give you everything and everyone. So
Mm,
all the troubles that are coming your way, there's just a super simple prayer that you can use to, you know, realize, God, you got this. I should trust in you. Let's move forward. So with that said, let's move forward. Let's move forward. Let's
I
talk
like
to Brett Snodgrass with he wrote a really really cool book. I love the books that are story format, and so I don't know how these guys that write these books that way do it, but Brett knocked it out of the park with a book called The Secret War Within, and then he also has a cool online website, Iron Deep, and they also have a little community of men inside of that group too. So he's just helping guys, become better men, better husbands, fathers, and grow deeper in faith. So, welcome to the Journey of a Christian Dad podcast, Brett.
Yeah. Thanks, Dan. Thanks for having me, man. It's a pleasure to be here. I think we're in this together, same singular purpose and mission for Christ. So, helping fathers be better fathers. Thank you so much.
Yeah, yeah, so glad to have you. So, how'd you get into this? Like, this isn't obviously where your career started. So, how'd you get into this these days?
Yeah. Number one, yeah, I'll just say my career has been real estate. So I've been in the business world for the last 16 or 17 years and been around a lot of entrepreneurs, entrepreneurial men, been around that circle. Gave my life to Christ at 30. So for the last 14 years, I'm 44 now. I've been following Christ as my Lord and Savior. Went to church sometimes before, but really following Him as a disciple of the Lord. That's been the last 14 years. And so I guess it really just kind of converged a couple of years ago, just kind of dreaming what the Father wanted me to do. And just I've always been drawn to helping out other men in all walks of life. I've done men's ministries, I've done some prison ministries with men, and I've been around the business world. So really, Iron Deep was born just trying to put those two worlds together because I've in the business world, I've seen men chasing after all these different things and success and recognition and money and wealth and freedom and all that brings. And then been around the church world too. And sometimes since I'm a business owner, maybe my mindedness weren't really alike. Sometimes I didn't feel like I don't know. They didn't get me quite as a business owner. So really, I just decided, hey, let's put this together. The Lord put on my heart to facilitate a group called Iron Deep, and then yeah, we're pretty young. We started about 2021. We've had a few events, and it's been pretty impactful. And really, it's just about iron sharpening iron. So just getting better in our faith, deeper in our faith, our families and our businesses, but then having that depth. I think that's the one thing we talked even before the show is
Yeah,
how do you go deep in a relationship with God? What does that look like as a personal, intimate relationship with our Father? And then how do you go deeper in brotherhood with each other? Like, what does that look like to actually do life with other men that are in your corner? What does that look like? Because I think that's missed sometimes today.
sometimes.
Sometimes.
That's funny. That's funny. So, go back a little bit. What was your dad like? Like, how'd you grow up?
Yeah. Yeah. So I grew up in Indiana, Hoosier State. If you ever seen the movie Hoosiers, that was my life. That was my dad. That was me. My dad was a high school basketball coach and a teacher.
Oh, wow.
Uh, so I grew up playing ball. Um, And it's just like that. That's all I really ever did. My identity was completely wrapped into the game of basketball. My dad coached me in high school. And so a lot of the book you'll see some of the resemblance of that. And then I went to college. I got a full ride scholarship to a small school here in Indiana called Huntington. So I got to play there for 4 years. So that was a lot of my life. My dad he was a good dad. He expected me to achieve, especially at that game. So have you ever
Mhm.
been born and raised by a coach that was your coach, especially at some sort of organized level, maybe not the Pee Wee leagues, but then some organized level? He was tough on me. He was expected a lot in that game. So our relationship wavered, right? If I was if I was doing
Oh
well,
man, yeah.
we were pretty good. He was proud of me. When I wasn't, I just felt like he was disappointed. Yeah.
I
So
think that could be just a lot of us, whether that was true that of your father, or that's just our impression.
yeah,
Like when we win the game or we do well, we get ice cream.
yeah,
When the game didn't go well, we still get ice cream, maybe.
yeah.
But
We didn't do ice cream. If we didn't do well, we were quiet.
yeah, got it, got it.
Yeah.
All right, so
So,
maybe, so maybe, but I remember growing up, and it was sometimes I felt like the praise was when I did well, maybe from my father, maybe from coaches more specifically,
yeah,
or even friends. You go
yeah,
back to school, and the girls come around and are like, "Hey, I heard you scored 3 goals this weekend."
I know.
I'm like, no, it's four actually, and
Yeah.
two of them were with my left foot, and
Right.
that was the only good game I had the whole season, but feels
Yeah.
good that people are talking about it.
Yeah. I think, man, I mean, we're just drawn to attention. We're drawn to what are people going to recognize us for, and it feels just good when your name gets in the paper or someone shows you attention, and then that feels good. So you just want more of it at the end of the day, and that's just, you know, I don't know if there's anything necessarily wrong with that, but what happens is your complete identity gets wrapped into it, and that's what Iron Deep's about. That's what the book's about. Is just your identity. Is how do we form our identity into our Creator, into our Father, into Christ, and not something else, not to our achievement, not to our success, not to our careers. First time in history that our identities and men are completely wrapped into our careers. I don't think we used to do that as much before. We used to put them into something else, but right now had a guy named Jeremy Pryor on my podcast. He wrote a book called Family Revision, and he said, in our today's culture, a man can have an amazing career, leave his family in ruins, and still be considered a good man. You know, I mean, I don't know about that, but we put these successful businessmen on a pedestal when we start to look at their private lives, like they sacrificed their family didn't know him, and then we still raise him up. Like, man, he was a great man. I don't know if that's true.
Yeah,
So
there's a famous pastor out there. I'll omit his name, but one of the big guys, and he got in a ton of trouble. And well, actually, there's two pastors I'm thinking of. One of them got in a ton of trouble and ended up going into prison. And a guy came to prison, and he's so like thankful to be able to meet with the guy, and he's like, Pastor, can you, tell me like, how'd this go down, and how did you quit loving God? How did you like lose that relationship? And the pastor, like, with full of God's spirit, looks at me and goes, "Oh no." He goes, I never lost that. Like that was not the answer. Like that wasn't the problem. He goes, I'm confused.
hmm.
And he goes, "No, it was fear of the Lord is what I lost.
Wow.
I can
Wow.
do anything I wanted because
Mhm.
me and God were tight.
Wow.
Therefore, as in, it's little transgressions that led to a big transgression." He goes, "But it was the fear of the Lord that actually what got me because I lost it. I didn't have that respect, and you know
Yeah.
so it was that.
Wow. That's all. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. Wow. No, I totally I think again, with our organization, I'm always talking about how just to be honest with yourself, be honest with God, how do we get there? Sometimes we need other brothers to help us get there. It's hard to get there on our own because we lie to ourselves all the time. Oh, everything's okay. No, my priorities are in check. But the reality is sometimes, no, I mean, look at my actions, look at my time, look how I spend my time, my money. What am I always thinking about? And just checking out those priorities. And I think we have to stop and remind. I think it's important, at these events or these events that we do. It's important to get alone with God every single day, but just to get in that reflective state. Men don't do that. We don't sit, we don't reflect, we don't talk to God. You even had that conversation. Well, God, what do you want to talk about? We're too busy talking. We're not busy listening. Um, I met with a guy, a coach the other day, and he just said, what does the shepherd's voice sound like? What does that even look like? We feel like we're always having to talk, and sometimes we just need to listen. We need to reflect. We need to be honest. That takes work. It takes intentionality. It takes a lot of work, and I think yeah, I think that pastor lost some of that. So,
Yeah, for sure. So you talk about reflect. Uh, that's funny. That's been a topic around for the last couple weeks in my life where I hear people talking about busy, and then I'll hear somebody else interject, hey, what about, how do you think through that? Or they'll hear an example of somebody that has a reflective type life.
mhm.
Like, I wonder how he does that. I'm like, that's interesting. I'm around 10 different people and one person poses the question and there's nine people scratching their head. So maybe there's some people listening today that are like, all right, let me hear how to get out of this cycle of busy and get into a reflective state. Or what even does that mean? What are these guys talking about right now?
Yeah, yeah. No, I mean, I've gone through seasons of that. I've even been in this season of that, where this week I've been reflective. I'm like, okay, let me look at let me look at what's going on, and does do I want my life to look like this, like continuously? Because if I don't change anything and if I don't think about anything, it's just going to continue. It's just going to continue the same path. Or do I need to pivot somewhere? Does God want me to remove something? So typically what happens in my own life is people just keep adding. We just keep adding, adding, adding. We never remove anything. And then our plate, we wonder why our plate is so full of everything because we're just adding, adding, adding. And it's so funny how so many books are written on busyness now. I mean, I don't think I've ever seen so many books on busyness, margin, um, I mean, right? Sabbath, like taking
Yes,
Sabbath.
yeah, I
Like
was gonna
there's so
say
many books.
absolutely. Lately, Sabbath and
Yeah.
Sunday has been everywhere, at least where I'm looking.
Yeah. There's so many books written on it. And yet we live in a world that there's so many different conveniences that we could have so much more time. All these things are to build more time in our life. Yet we don't have any time. I mean, you think about our day and age versus people that actually had to go kill the food and farm and all the hard work, right? And bring it home and work extremely hard. Um, they probably wouldn't think that this is even work what we're doing. And it's just crazy. I think you just got to be extremely intentional. It's just really hard to get into that state because we have so many different things coming at us. So what I would do is again, yeah, maybe ask that guy, how do you do that? What does that look like? What's your day look like? What's your week look like? Show me your calendar. Like what do you look like? And I'm sure he builds it in. He builds it in. If he wants to have reflective time, he it's really important to him and he doesn't and he just that's a sacred time for him. Yeah, because if you don't, then it's just gonna fill up with something else.
Have you got that in your life? Have you got some type of a system for that?
Mm, yeah, I mean, obviously my mornings, I try to, at least an hour in the morning, is sort of, my word time, my journal time. But I'll be honest, you know, I'm not the best at it. There's been seasons of my life, yes. I mean, I'm dialed in and I have certain times that I have that built out and I do. But sometimes, yeah, I let things get creep in. Maybe I want to sleep a little bit later. Maybe the kids wake me up and I'm tired, something like that. Uh And sometimes I feel like I'm not the most disciplined person. And sometimes I'm like, well, everybody else can be this disciplined person. And that's just not the way God designed me. That's not the way God made me. But then I've been reading lately, just through Proverbs, that, typically wisdom and discipline go together. And to live out that prudent life. And one thing is, because sometimes I'll say, well, I'm a wise person. I have a lot of wisdom in my life, but wisdom and discipline go together. So maybe your listeners, I don't know why I'm talking about that, but I think maybe your listeners maybe to hear that, of when you think about the wisdom and the knowledge, think about the discipline with it too. Are you disciplined? Because those two things go together. So I have seasons, yes, where I have been very disciplined, where I have that time together. And then I've had other seasons where I've let things get creep in. So I think, again, now it's like that's what I've been reflecting on this week, honestly. So it's like, okay, what's going on? Because I don't have any margin in my life. What do I need to do or remove, or what does this even look like? So
There you go. Right
yeah,
there, guys. So kind of a big revelation. Where
yeah,
do I where can I build more margin in? Where can I build more white space in? Where can I um just embrace not having to do anything?
yeah, yeah. I know. What does that look like? Do you have that? Let me ask you. I mean, do you what is this what does that kind of look like for you? Because you have a career, you do the podcast, you know.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, so it's one of the I coach a couple teams.
Yeah.
So you were talking about your dad being the coach. I'm no high school coach or college
Mhm.
coach or any of that. I just coach a little league thing.
Yeah.
Thinking of my relationship with my daughter and how I constantly talk to her about, yes, I absolutely want her to do the best she can do. And I want
Hmm.
her to put her effort into it. And then I want to help her go as far as she wants to go with what she does. And I love her no matter what.
Yeah.
So it's when it's the good game, it's great. When it's the bad game, it's still great.
You get an ice cream.
Yeah. Yeah. When the attitude's bad, that's different.
Yes. Right.
You
That's a
know, so
character
we
thing. Yeah.
we we only had one of those.
Through or bat.
But that one was rough. But yeah, so to get back to your question, yeah, I certainly do have plenty of different things that can um, pull my time,
Hmm.
can create a busyness type thing. So one of the big things for me is just recognizing busyness in general and
Hmm.
recognizing when I think that word. So a closer group that I hang around whenever we say, "Oh man, busy,"
Busy, crazy busy.
I'm like we all know, like you can't say that.
Yeah.
It's like back up a second. What is
What's
it
going on?
really?
Yeah.
You know, is it full? Are you doing the things you want to do?
Yeah.
Full's good.
Sometimes,
Full
sometimes
can
it
be
just
good.
means you're overwhelmed.
Over now, that's I'm
Yeah.
busy and overwhelmed. There's craziness going on. Like
Yeah.
I'm having trouble. Oh, okay. Well, let's you want to get into that or you want to whatever. But when you get that feeling of oh gosh, I'm busy, it's like all right, stop. Like
Yes.
busy's bad.
Yeah. Yeah.
Busy's bad.
And
Are
that's what,
things
that's what, obviously I go back to like the screw tape letters and C.S. Lewis talks about. I don't have to make them not believe. I just have to make them really busy so they don't have time to build a relationship with God, right?
that was a
Um,
huge takeaway from that book for me when I read it was
yeah.
just uh, the lies and deception and all the different things. It doesn't have to be a huge thing. It can be just a
Mm-hmm.
small thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Here's a shiny object. Here's a new song. Here's something to catch your attention. And it doesn't have to be, say you're on the internet working. It doesn't have to be something graphic imagery that takes you down a
Right.
rabbit hole into triple X sin.
Right.
It literally could just be something that pulls you away from mission and you stay in that cycle where you keep getting pulled away from mission and now you're just wasting time and kind of creating a busyness effect and not being purposeful, not being mission driven, not being,
Mm-hmm.
focused on what's important.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I agree. And you can even get in that cycle with um obviously we see it with the ministry, we see it with pastors, we see it when we're trying to do good things. I could see it with Iron Deep. I mean, it's well, here's a radically honest thing. and pastors probably think this too, and people think about this when guys are facilitating some sort of ministry or group like this, is like, wow, they must be really close to the Lord, spend all this time. But the opposite can be true. Number one, you're getting attacked because you're trying. You're trying to live out that calling that he's maybe called you to, but then you can get just so wrapped up in the busyness that you don't have time to spend time. I mean, so that the intimacy can go away. I'm sure that happens over and over again. And anyways, I'm just talking out of reference that just because you do that doesn't mean that you're getting more intimate with God. You're living that out. Anyways, that's just a couple of things that I've experienced, or like writing the book, for example, wrote the book, and that's awesome. I mean, some of my most intimate times with the Lord when I'm in my closet or whatever, just praying through, hey, what do you want me to lay out on these particular pages? But then everything comes with it. Like, and you're listening to all these different voices. It's like, oh, well, now I have to do this or do that or get on this or speak and then now it's just, yeah. And what's the shepherd's voice look like? What does he want you to do? So those are just some of the revelations, and just a trap that you can kind of get into on some of
Yeah.
these, even good
Yeah.
things, like the good things, like the
Yes.
coaching. It's a great thing. It's a good thing, but I don't know. So
Yeah, you
that's the
can
soapbox.
get into too much coaching and,
Yeah.
spend all your time there. So yeah,
Yeah.
the first thing for me is just recognizing, hey, things are starting to, spin out of control.
Yeah.
When I look at my goals, when I look at what I'm trying to accomplish and realize that I'm spreading wide
Yes.
and like I don't even care about these six things, but
Right.
I've allowed them in. So
Yeah.
being able to say no or move things to people that do care about those things or whatever it is, but that first is just recognize. And then with my journal, I do something called the 3-2-1 journal. Three things of gratitude in the morning, two affirmations, and one big win for the day. And in that space, it's kind of a reflective time where it's just a natural beginning and end of the day type thing, bookends. And that let you kind of think through,
Hmm.
what were some great things that happened today? What
Yeah.
went well today? How did I win it? Whatever it was today, or but through that, like as I think through my day, I stayed just busy all day with distraction or
Hmm.
with whatever, or you go, man, today was a pretty good day.
Yeah.
Today
Yeah.
was a pretty good day, like, and without recognizing the wins, you can burn out. You can tend to drift more. But when you start like, oh, that thing I did, it moved me where I want to go. So I'll do the
Hmm.
hard thing again so I can get closer to where I want to go.
Hmm. Yeah. And I think that's awesome. I think again, it goes back to just that gratitude and celebration. I mean, you celebrate those little wins in your life, and I think we don't do that enough, especially as men or as a business guy. I'm always thinking of the next thing, the next goal, the next target, um, and we don't celebrate. And one of the things that at our I&D events is that I even put on one of our bracelets is just celebration, like celebrate. How can we celebrate each other? Be in your corner, encourage you. Other people aren't celebrating these guys or their successes or whatever. We want to celebrate. So if you're winning at business, if you're getting closer to God, if your family is going well and you're leading them, then we want to celebrate that. And that's just huge. I think again, it's just those little things like people don't really celebrate each other. They really don't care at the end of the day. They actually want you to fail most
Right.
of the time so they can feel better about themselves. So,
Yes. Yes. So it's funny as we lead through this conversation tonight. I've got a event. We've got 93 people or 93 couples that have paid to attend this marriage event.
mhm,
Really excited about it, and I'm like, and all week I've kind of thought, man, this is interesting how this one thing showed up and this turmoil has showed up and this massive distraction turmoil. Like, oh my gosh. Tuesday mornings, I go to this workout group. A whole bunch of guys get together and group called F3 that I talk about quite a bit, fitness, fellowship, and faith. And
I
I
actually
guess
just heard about that a couple weeks ago.
oh yeah, it's
Yeah,
fantastic. If you
yeah,
don't have one close by you, you should start one.
yeah.
And I had signed up about I don't know, 2 months in advance to lead a workout that day. So to be the guy that gives the inspirational message or designs the
Hmm.
workout or to whatever it is. But it was my day and I didn't have it in my mind. And I get a text message, hey, the weather's terrible. And what are we going to do? And, my nickname's Goulash. Goulash is leading the thing. And I was like, huh, that's right. Let me double check to see if I actually did sign it. Yeah, that's me. Well, I had this massive
That's awesome.
turmoil thing coming up later on in the day where my head was just wrapped up and I was trying to use that prayer.
Mm,
Dear Lord, I give you everything and everyone, especially this one thing. Like, take it from
hmm
me. I don't want this burden anymore, please. And just having
hmm
to keep going back to that and other things. And I'm like, oh, that's cool. I get to go. I get to lead. I get to share whatever I want to share. I get to pray for the guys and whatever. And it was a cool workout. Great. They went through. The thing I was so concerned over ended up going in an amazing direction. Like
mm,
it was so beneficial for me personally, and I was afraid it was going to be so negative for me personally.
hmm Wow.
So the exact opposite. And all the while, I'm like, it's leading up to this event tonight, and so it's like all these little things keep coming at me, and I'm like, huh, wonder what this is, just by
Yeah.
chance, or is this you know, these
Yeah.
minions coming at me with different things, creating turmoil in my life. So,
Mm.
um,
Yeah. Yeah.
could
It goes
be.
back to the verse that you said, just don't be anxious, don't be worry. Most of the things that we worry about don't come. They usually end up good. Um,
Yeah.
so
Yep. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. So I was hearing you say, and I'm like, oh yeah, you don't even know what my week's been like.
yeah, there you go.
But you're talking into it. You're talking into it. So tell me about your current family. As I'm in my own head, I'm like, man, I'm listening to this and I'm thinking, this guy mentioned he had kids, and like, tell me about
Mhm.
your current family. Like, you get the big real estate, I'll say empire,
Yeah. It's my
but you've
little
done
empire.
you've done well with real estate.
Yeah. Yeah. I'd say yeah. Outside looking in, yeah. I've done all right.
Yeah, you've flip houses. You've got a
Mm,
nice little thing going there.
mhm,
And one of my buddies, he had a mentor that did 300 or 400 houses a year,
mm,
and he's like, oh, I'm going to be just like that guy.
mm,
And he got like just like that guy.
mm,
And then he went and spent, I think, 4 days with him out of town at the guy's house. And he realized that the guy was destined for divorce,
mm,
sniffed as much cocaine as his nose could fit,
mm.
and just was all about him,
Yeah.
selfish ambition, pride, ego, no faith in God whatsoever. And he's like, oh my gosh, I'm in a total crisis myself because I'm trying to be that.
Yeah.
And if I keep going, I'm going to be exactly that. I'm going to
Yeah.
lose my own marriage. I am going to
Mm,
turn to drugs. Like none of
mhm.
these things, bad things that happen, other than he was working 100 hours a week.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then he saw what happens at the end of the road, top of the mountain. He's like, oh man, what a big mistake. So that was kind of the world that you were in at one
Mhm,
point. I'm kind of
mhm,
picking up.
mhm. Yeah.
Or
Yeah. I
maybe that
mean,
was the
yeah.
track or direction that maybe you were on.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I mean, we've done a lot of houses, and we were doing. I think at our top, we were doing yeah maybe a few hundred houses in a year, something like that. And yeah, I mean, it's a lot of work, a lot of stress, health, sacrifice, your personal life and relationships. I I still care. I still tried to do the best I could and lead my family. But it's hard when you're pushing that hard um, to do that. One of the things I tell my team now is, hey, let's continue to grow responsibly. How can we grow responsibly and not recklessly? Because I've seen it devastate men's lives. Exact same story. I saw a man very successful in real estate as well did get a divorce, and he said there's no amount of public success that can replace private failure. So those types of words stick with me. Um, so yeah, I've been in the real estate career for 17 years. I have a family. I'm a father of four, happily married to Karen, and this is just this balancing act. We have different seasons of life, but I know on your podcast you say that the man's responsibility is to lead his family, right? To lead his family first. That's their first mission field. How can we do that well? And I think what men uh struggle with And again, I think what I said before is that men don't get recognized for that, that it's not sexy, that what they do get recognized for is the 400 houses a year. I'm sure that guy gets recognized for that. He gets an award for that. He gets people that want to be mentored by him because of that. How many men come and say, "Will you mentor me because you're such a great dad?" Probably not very many. And because it's just that private thing, they don't maybe know. Um, so the recognition, men gravitate towards that, and the power, the success, the recognition of it all. Um, but for me, yeah, I mean, this is my first mission field, my family, and I'll be honest that have I always done it well? I mean, this is always just balancing act. Here's what I think I have done well, and I think other men do this. Some do this well. I was talking to a coach the other day. Is I do some of the big things well. Like, I love the big things. I'm really good at the big things. We do the dad son camps, the dad daughter camps. I've done the family missions trips. I went for a week out to California with my teenager. We did this adventure type of camp, and I do date nights well. I do all that stuff well. I've coached teams. I think what I struggle with is just the day-to-day consistency, the walking into the room every single night, telling them how much they mean to me. Um, what do I see in them? What do I think about them? How, am I proud just because they're my son or because they're my daughter, not because of what they done? Um, that's where I think I've struggled, and I'm working every single day. That's to be that daily decision, and it has to come from the overflow of Christ in my life, actually. Because I know that when my intimacy is strong, and I'm growing closer to Him, all these things will be done unto you, and then I pour it out, and then I just tell them. It just flows out of me. So that's my family a little bit. I know it all starts with the man. The man, the leader. I know that if I model it first, they'll eventually follow. And so, anyways, that's just a little bit in a nutshell. But it's something that I am constantly have to be intentional about for sure.
And
It's
how
the
old are
little
your
things.
kids?
So my oldest is 16,
Okay.
and then I have 10, 8, and 5. Two boys, two girls.
Okay. Got it. Got
Yep.
it. Yeah. Now, as I'm listening to you, I'm like, oh yeah, all the big stuff, all the big stuff. And I'm like, sometimes about 8:30 at night when they're doing whatever it is that they're doing, and I want to bring them into something I want to talk about or think about, and instead they want to watch something that I have no idea what it is.
Yeah.
And every once in a while they'll watch something that I really, really enjoy. And I'm like, all right, we'll watch that together. I'll still
Yeah.
watch the whatever with them, but
Right.
some of that stuff that the younger kids watch,
Yeah.
what are you guys doing? I don't get it. Like the slime. I don't get the slime.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. No, I know. And yeah, I think we're in that season where I got a lot of different things kind of happening because I got my younger kids that they want to do younger kid stuff, and I love all that. And
Mhm.
then I got my teenager too, and I'm trying to figure that out. This is the first go around with a girl teenager that I'm trying to figure that out. Is that if I don't pursue her and she acts like she doesn't want to be pursued, and then just trying to figure out my lane there. So yeah, just got a lot of different things going on, and the things I keep telling myself is, again, this season comes around once, right? It's like, it's very, very short. We all know that. And so I have to tell myself sometimes, like, because I have these big dreams or I want to do these things. And sometimes it's just, I have to tell myself it's just not right now. Like I got a year and a half. I just said this myself the other day. I got like a year and a half left with my teenager. She's a junior. She'll be a senior next year. What do I want that to look like? You know? And if I keep doing the same stuff, it's not, it might not look like what I want, right? So anyways, these are things that, again, that reflective that I have to ask myself all the time.
Have you thought through that much? That last thing you talked about with senior in high school and graduate in college and how you want that relationship to look like?
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, I'm all about just connection. I think you can't kids won't listen to you unless they feel connected to you.
Mhm.
So, as a dad, we're always wanting to put on that hat of I want to coach them up. I want to tell them what they should be doing or how to live. But if you're not connected, then they won't listen at all. So I think for me, it's just how can I build that connection? What are some things that we can do with time? Because right now, time is very limited, very limited with her. So when we do have that time, how can we build in that time? So for me, yeah, it's just how can I build in that time with her? Um, what can we do to raise up just that connection? So for me, I do take her on dates, but it's also when I put my younger kids to bed, it's very easy for me not to even because she's not coming after me, but can I stop and again tell her, hey, just care about you. What's kind of going on in your heart? Sometimes you get something, sometimes you don't. And here's the other thing: she'll talk when she wants to talk. So when she's ready to talk, I better be ready.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the main things. Cause sometimes, like, again, you talk about your time, sometimes we have this perfect time, like, okay, now we're gonna talk, but she's not ready to talk. When she does come, everything's to the side, and I just be like, okay, I'm ready. I need to be ready. So
Yes. Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. I like my oldest daughter, she's 11, and I'm like, you're talking my life right now.
Yeah, yeah,
We just got her a cell phone the other day, and that was not I fought it, but
yeah.
with tablets, they're kind of the same thing somewhat.
Yeah, I know. And
And
it's one of those things. It's like, that's the world that we live in. I don't know what the right answer is to that. I mean, my daughter got it at young. That is their life. I've listened to a lot of things. I mean, that's how they socialize. That's how
yes.
they connect with people. We come from a different world. It's almost like I think one person put it, we're immigrants to technology because we came from without it,
Mm-hmm.
and they're just natives. They don't know what that's like not to have that, right? And you just start to asking yourself those questions. Because yeah, I mean, I'm with you. I want to keep it away from them, but then you're battling with all these other things.
Yeah.
Like all their friends have it, and then they can't socialize, right, at
Yeah. Her
all. So
softball team, all the girls have a text message thread.
right,
And she's like, Dad, I'm the one that doesn't have any of the softball information because I don't have the ability to do that.
right.
So I've got to pick them off one by one on other communication channels and
Mm-hmm.
hopefully catch up with what they're talking about
Yeah,
because I don't know.
right.
I'm like, oh,
Yeah,
whatever. And then
yeah.
finally I caved in the one of the things that I've come to realize is a 10 or 12-inch tablet isn't all that actually portable.
Mm.
It is, but
Re-
it isn't. Like it can
right.
go in the car and it can go different places. But having our cell phone size that fits in our pocket when a kid has something that size with wireless internet connectivity, and all of a sudden
Mm-hmm.
they're not actually reliant on other things. They've got all the control all in one spot and
Mm-hmm.
they can have that in their pocket. They can have that in their hand. It's now not a hindrance to their movement. Like they don't have to think about this thing. They don't have to set it aside. It's right there.
Mm-hmm.
You
Yeah.
have 2 seconds of silence and boom, just like an
Mm-hmm.
adult, that phone comes out. And I'm like, huh, I don't like this.
I know. But that again, I mean, you look around and that's what it is. That's what it is, and it's just like, how do we have a healthy relationship with it? And I don't think it's still so new that it's hard to have a healthy relationship with it. We all do it. We all struggle with it.
Yeah.
That's why it's so all these books, all these podcasts, and the technology companies have hacked our brains to have an unhealthy relationship with us because that's what's for sale is our attention, and they've hacked it, and they're good.
So we've been going to a coach, softball coach, private pitching lessons. And and the drive's a fairly long drive, 20 minutes, 40 minutes one way. Depends if we pick a girl up or not. And before, the two girls would always talk and we'd always have a great time. This last time, the first time I drove where my daughter had a cell phone, she's listening to music and checking the thing out and her head's right on it. I can't
Mm-hmm.
really see her because she's behind me, but I can tell what her body language is. Just closed off, and she's got her friend right there in the palm of her hand.
Mm-hmm.
And her other friend, her and I are talking, and my daughter's not. But the other friend's like, well, she's on her phone. Like I can feel like,
Yeah.
quit talking to me because I'm going to dive into my
Yeah.
phone now since she's on her phone. And she starts
Right.
text messages and like she's typing a bunch.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
Yeah. I
that's
mean,
it.
if you can imagine you were with a friend, and you were at lunch or dinner and they just have their phone out, what do you do? I mean, it's like yeah, you're, you just get yours out or they're ignoring you. I mean, yeah, I get
So
it.
have you ever been coffee out wherever
Hmm.
and somebody's got their phone out and is messing with their phone? It's just the two of you.
Have I ever done that? Oh yeah, all the time.
Have you done anything in that situation? Such
Probably
as,
not. I mean, I probably avoid conflict, so I probably don't say nothing.
okay, I'm typically, if I can avoid conflict, I'm
Unless
more
it's
on
my
the,
kids. Unless it's my
yes.
daughter, then I'd probably say something.
Yeah, and they know that rule when we're around a
Yeah.
table. There's absolutely no phones at the table, no tablets, no nothing. But yeah, I went to a few business type things and somebody had their phone and they're doing their thing and I'm like, "Hey, I noticed you got your phone out and everything." Or like say a wife calls in or something like, "Dude, your wife is more important than me."
Yeah. Right.
However, when it's beyond that, I'm like, "Hey, have you got an emergency or something going on? Like we can reschedule this or something." "Oh,
Yeah.
no, I was just doing the whatever and the thing." I'm like, I had a question. Do you want to take like 5 minutes and just clear all that stuff out of your head and move
Hmm.
on? Or, would it be right if you just put your phone aside, just put it away, and then, we can hang out.
Yeah.
We can address your issues. You can help me. Whatever it is that we're doing, could we could we be together doing it as opposed to you being distracted and being
Hmm.
somewhere else and there wasn't much reason for us to be together today. Some version of that, and the person's like, oh,
I've never heard anybody say that.
well, I did notice that your phone isn't visible. I'm
Yeah.
like, I don't even put it on the table
Yeah.
when I'm with somebody because when it's on the table, it's now an extra person, an extra like you're looking at it,
Right.
whether it's upside down or whatever. Like it's a distraction in and of itself.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's so true. And I had a podcast the other day and he was talking about, yeah, we think that we're doing someone a favor when we put our phone upside down on the table. Like that's how we feel like we're connecting when we do that.
Let me make a visible symbol of how important you are. I'm going to put
Yeah.
it all the way upside down.
Right. Yeah. But as soon as they go to the bathroom, as soon as they leave, as soon as they go get a refill, whatever that is, we pick it up. I'm part of this one group and I'm around business guys a lot. And it's just in our nature to work, and our work never shuts off. I mean, there's always fires, there's always something going on. I can check my email at any time. Like, I don't scroll social media, I don't do any of that stuff, but I'll check my email like 25 times a day or whatever. And he said entrepreneurs have been having this issue. And there was this consultant that told them, here's what you do. Super simple. Leave your phone when you get home from work, just leave your phone and your laptop in the car. And that's it. And I think that if we start to do that and just are intentional on that, so I started doing that a few times, and it just makes that little difference of your presence of not having it in the same room.
Hmm.
It just makes that difference. Like now there's a weight that's been lifted. I don't have to I'm wondering who's doing what and who's going to text me or whatever. And I would just encourage anyone, try that for a week. Try it for a couple weeks. Leave your phone in the car, whatever it is. You're just out of the house. If you're going to that coffee meeting, just leave it in the car and just to be fully present. So that's something I've been doing. It's been helpful.
That's great. I was at a business meeting this week, and one of my friends says to the big, huge, mega famous guy, and she says, "Man, what you said, like it was just so like basic and so, you know." And the guy had this look on his face, like, "What? Like you're insulting me?" And then she's like, later on, she goes, "Hey, I think maybe I insulted the guy, blah, blah." And what I meant by that was there were so many little reminders throughout there of all the things that are like just baseline activities that we absolutely got to be doing. And as I'm thinking to myself, ooh, missed the mark there big time. And it was
Yeah.
a huge thing for me to catch that one little thing that I haven't done for a really long time that is
Right.
critical.
Mm.
And like it meant a lot to me, but I didn't get a chance to tell him that. And it wasn't until I walked away that I realized he thought I was attacking him. So what I
That's
just heard you
amazing.
say, I'm like, absolutely. Like that is such a good thing to do. And I'll go through streaks.
Yes.
I'll do real good. And
And then
then
the bad
something will
habits
get me
creep
off
in.
track.
The
Yeah.
bad habits creep in. It's just you have to remind yourself and be intentional and continuous reminding. That's why again, like organizations are good or sharpen each other's good. It's just we need those reminders. We know it. It's just we just have the bad habits.
They sell a
Yeah.
device out there, a lockbox. It's, I don't know, $120 or something like that. So you can lock your cell phone in it. And
Yes.
I'm like, I'm too cheap for that.
I
I'll
know.
put it in the car. That's far enough away where,
Yeah, I know. And I think it just again, it's like you got to ask yourself, what do you really want? I want to be present with my family. I want to be present with my kids. I don't want that's what I really want. So what do I have to do to do that? And if I have to do put my phone away, then that's what I have to do. So
how do you dial in and get present? Like when you realize that, like we talked about the busyness and just realizing, oh, geez, all this going on. But when you're just doing whatever it is you're doing, and then you realize, oh my gosh, I really haven't been around. Do you have any tricks to?
um for me, I love it's probably hard, on the fly. That's I think what I struggle with more. If I have a plan and then something happens and it's not part of my plan, um, I have to be in touch about that. You talked about your wife, someone's wife calling.
Yeah.
Um, that's one. When she does call or she needs me, I need to drop what I'm doing and to be intentional. Um, so on the fly, I think has been, I have to really focus in on that. I love to build out rhythms. I love to build out routines. Um, so so I'm looking forward to being with my wife. Or so for us, like let me use my wife for example, and we've gone through different seasons of this. So we do the weekly date night. That's fine.
Mhm.
But then that's really not enough. Do we have a daily time? So we've gone through times where, after the kids go to bed, we try to put them to bed at a certain amount of time. And then we have like an hour before bedtime of like, okay, this is a presence time. This is our time. We can talk about or do whatever. She's not cleaning. She's not getting stuff ready. We're all done with all that. I'm not working. And this is our time. So I think just building out rhythms is
Mhm.
is just important. So what does that look like? Putting it in your calendar first. I love to spend one-on-one time with my kids. So I got 4 kids. So sometimes that is very difficult. If you don't schedule it and you don't build out a pattern, you don't build out a rhythm, you're never going to spend one-on-one time with your child ever.
With 4, that's continually, if you don't have some type of pattern or rhythm, then
Yeah.
you're continually doing all this work that would be so mentally draining to me
Hmm.
instead of,
Yeah.
hey, Mondays, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, or, some type of something. Oh, cool. Softball, volleyball, and,
Yeah.
Saturdays. And
Yeah. So I think, yeah, just trying to build out those rhythms. One guy was talking to me, and I've done this. Some he talked about every quarter. So again, this is just once a quarter, but this is just a special thing that we can look forward to is taking out that one child for like a half a day
hmm
and just doing whatever they want to do and making it about what they like. Don't have an agenda, and then afterwards, reflect on whatever. Um, and make it a special times, maybe picking them up from school early that day, just once a quarter. So that's something that just try to build in. Again, Brett does some of the bigger things well. Um, and that's what I've, tried to implement some in the Snodgrass family, but you have to, again, build that in, plan it out. Um, so that those are some of the intentional things. Um, and maybe you can help me just on the fly when I get interrupted, when it's not part of my plan, then it's like, okay, what do I do there? So,
I picked up a whole bunch of different, like small, simple techniques. I actually just did it right there with my hand. Whenever you're realizing, oh, geez, I really haven't been all that present with the people around me or the person I'm talking to or whatever it is, and it doesn't have to be even visible, but you can take just your fingers and feel your fingertips and feel your fingerprints on your fingers and feel your thumb rub your finger and like, oh, wow, there's those little bitty ridges, and it you can get just dialed into the absolute smallest thing,
yeah.
and then you can see everything around you again, and your sensations come back. Could be something even different where you take your tongue and put it into the top roof of your mouth and press against it, or
Hmm.
uh, you know make a muscle, or dig your feet into the ground. Try to be
Hmm.
grounded. So you dig your feet into the ground, you wiggle your toes, you know, and that physical presence, when you take your mental focus in, and then it's just a small shift, just second, 2 seconds. Might take a
Yeah.
little bit longer, for a while until you develop that, and your mind can shift focus super, super quick. Uh,
Yeah.
or even
I
just a
think that's true. Yeah.
breathing technique. You just
Yeah.
You might need to do that 3, 4, 5 times, like that super deep, extreme inhale, extreme exhale,
Yeah.
and lower abdomen type work. If anybody's done any reading on breath work or anything, but the breathing can change it quite a bit. I'll be
Yeah.
doing a super hard workout and like dying. And like, let me just get control of my breathing. Let me only focus on that and keep doing the awful thing that I'm doing, and my heart rate's way up. But let me control the breathing part and just focus on that. And that'll get me through another 10, 20 seconds.
Yeah. Yeah, no, definitely. I think it's just changing the posture. Is your heart ready to be present? And I think, again, if you go to work and you come home from work, is there an action that you can do before you walk into the door?
Yes.
Maybe it is, and mine would be like, I'm not taking this thing in. I'm not taking my work in home with me. Now I work from home sometimes, a lot of times, but I might have to, do that differently. But yeah, just leaving that there. How do you walk in ready? Uh, and I think we get in the trap of just the familiar, it's crazy how we can meet someone for coffee. I was talking to my a guy the other day about this, and it's crazy how I can meet him for an hour. I can meet you right now, and I can be totally present in the
Yeah.
game for coffee or whatever. But then I go home and just maybe just a familiar. They're gonna love me no matter what. I just let down all my crap, like, and I'm not intentional at all. Like I have no plan. I have no strategy. This woman has said she wants to spend the rest of her life with me, and I'm not even trying. Like I'm not even putting an effort in at all. Like, isn't that kind of crazy? Like there's no effort. We don't even smell good half the time. We don't look good. We don't take care of ourselves. We get.
Well, you already mentioned you do the one date night a week
We do.
with your wife.
Yes. Yeah.
So there is that.
Yes, we do.
I'm
And
sure
I
she
was just
doesn't plan it every week.
I was just and that's just a perspective. And
Yeah.
I think it goes back to what's your plan? Because in business, I'm always drawing up plans, strategic plans with business to how to grow, to how to get from here to there. And most of the time with our family, we just wing it. And we do honestly less of winging it. We don't even try at the end of the day. And most men do that, and we wonder why there's destruction there. So,
Yeah. Yeah. 100%.
yeah. Yeah.
So Earlier, I was thinking about you mentioned how do you grow deep with God and how do you grow deep with others? I've got some thoughts there, but I'd like to hear kind of your thought on how to grow deep with God.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. I think for me, number one is just like, I mean, if you're gonna grow in a relationship with anyone, you're are you spending time with them? Um, that's number one. You'd be amazed at how many people just aren't spending time with the Lord. So that's number one. Um, I look at how Christ spent his time, and that's what we do sometimes just with the organization. He went away with him and the Father and spent time in prayer, spent time listening to him, spent time talking to him about his mission. So going away, spending time with God, maybe have that daily routine. Maybe every month you spend a day going away. Maybe every quarter you spend a couple of days going away, right? What does that particularly look like? So again, building that rhythm of time, um, communication. Obviously, the other things is, am I in the Word? Am I worshiping? Am I in conversation with Him? Uh, that's just ways. And then are other brothers sharpening me, or other people sharpening me? What are my blind spots? Um, because again, I can really lie to myself. So do I have other people that are speaking life into me, that are encouraging me in a loving, healthy way? Um, that I can be vulnerable with, that I can be real with. One of the things that we talk about is to know and to be known. Like we want to know God, and we want to know Christ. We know He knows us, but also other brothers. Like, do people really know you? Do they really know the stuff? I'm not saying you have to go dark all the time and you have to talk about all your struggles. Like, but we also want to celebrate you for your wins. But like, do they really know? Do you have people in your corner that you can really just be like, man, honestly, I'm struggling, or I'm not, or I'm doing amazing. So those are some of the ways. Again, I think it's just to build in that time. Time is time with the Father, time with Christ, time with other brothers, and then also I think there's an intensity to it. So I think in order to build depth, can you spend time? Can you crank up the intensity? If you think about relationships that maybe you were closest to at some point in your life, maybe there was some thing that you crank the intensity up with. So for me, like, I grew up playing basketball, college, we're all spending a lot of time together. We're trying to achieve something, this mission, this win. And we build deeper relationships sometimes because we had this intensity. People in the military, they talk about the intensity. They bring that in. So like even at some of our events, like, hey, we're going to spend time together, but there could be some intensity increase too, as well. So there's some of the things just off the top of my mind.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And then all those things kind of directly relate to growing closer in relationship with people,
Hmm.
wife, kids, friends, whoever. Like
Yeah.
they all relate. So it's funny how things we learn in one area spill right over into a different area. And oftentimes we don't think, hey, I could use this over there.
Yeah. Yeah. No,
So
for sure. It's all relationships. It's all relational. Yeah. So however you feel like you can build depth with your relationship with people, that's again, that's how you build a relationship with God. Spend time with Him, to a quiet time. Be still. Know that He is God. What does He want to say to you? Are you listening? Like, what's the shepherd's voice sound like? We hear all these voices, all these things. People are telling us what to do. What's He say? What does He say about you? Who does He say who you are? Um, and yeah, what is He asking you to do about it?
so I'm gonna talk tonight at this couples event, and I think one of the things I'm gonna say, my dad gave me some marriage advice a long time ago. And when he gave it to me, I was young and I thought, what the heck does this mean?
Is a happy wife, happy life?
That's exact.
Was
I've got to,
it?
I've got an iron sharpens iron
Don't-
thing I'm giving a big speech at, and that's the topic of it is how why that's the biggest lie. Like that is so bad, so bad. So thankfully it wasn't that. So my dad's advice was, son, here's the marriage advice I got for you. Don't fall in love with the girl you're gonna marry. Fall in love with the woman she'll become after you're married.
Wow,
I said,
that is
okay,
true.
that sounds deep, Dad. That sounds great. Hey, Dad, how do I do that? He smiles and chuckles a little bit. Good luck, son.
Yes.
I'm like, what does he know that I don't know? Clearly,
Yeah.
he knows something I don't know.
Yeah.
And years later, I'm like, oh my gosh, I finally understand what he's talking about.
Yeah.
Because guys that have been married a little while, the wife we have now is very different than the girl we were dating.
Yes.
And we are very different than the guy she was dating back in the
Yeah.
day.
Right.
And I'm like, when I study my wife, when I learn everything I can learn about her, and I really, really pay attention, it allows me to love her even more.
Yeah. Mm.
So the great things she does, the flaws that she has, we're flawed as well. But when I know that and understand the little things that she does that are like, oh my gosh, that drives me crazy. How can I appreciate that? How can I understand that? How can I embrace or whatever? How can I lean into that and just accept and love as opposed to go the other direction or not understand, whatever it is.
Hmm.
Uh, you know, one of my buddies go, every time I come home from work, I can find out what my wife and her friends have eaten all day because it's all over the house. It's the packages, the wrappers are everywhere, including right above the trash can. Like you couldn't just open the drawer and drop it in there. And
And that's funny because everybody's a little bit different. My wife was not like that at all. She's a cleaner. She's but sometimes she'll get on me about that. So I think you're right. I think a guy I was listening to somebody there, one time, and he's like, "Yeah, I've been married to five different uh women. They've
oh
all been
yeah,
named his wife's name, right?"
yeah, for sure, for sure. So when we
So
take that studying and appreciation and like really, really understanding someone and things as they change and evolve, we take that and apply that to God too.
yeah, yeah. I totally agree. I totally agree. I mean, it's all about connection. It's all about intimacy. I'm huge just on that intimate relationship with God, with the Father. Obviously, that relates to your wife, your deep connection with the kids. So what does that look like? How do you connect? How do you connect with him? How do you connect with the Father? So what does that look like for you? So yeah.
Yeah, for me, I love nature. I love churches. I love quiet time in the morning. All these different places. It feels like I can get connected to God
Hmm.
pretty quick.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty quick. Turmoil. I don't love that. However, that, that can plug me in pretty quick. How about you?
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of the same. Yeah, just the outdoors is creation. I mean, typically, when I've gone somewhere, have different events, typically we have them in some sort of wondrous God's creation just to see the magnificence of him. Um, just that quiet time, I think, yeah, I think that's what I wrote. There was a point in the book even that he went through just that time of solitude, and the character of God in the book talks about there's a difference between isolation and solitude. A lot of times men isolate themselves. Huge difference between isolation and solitude, because isolation is about escape. Solitude is about engagement, but it's just, intentionally being by yourself with him and engaging with him. So that I just love the worship. And it doesn't have to be like a song or anything like that. It could just be just worshiping just who he is, praising him for who he is. And that could be lots of different things. That could be lots of different things. So, or just doing the things that he created in an extremely healthy way that he's just so pleased with, right? That could just be that form of worship, right? those are some of the things. Again, I love connecting. I love connecting with other guys, worshiping, praying together. Just the togetherness, integrating, other people in that time. Those are some of the moments that I long for, that I try to bring in.
Yeah, that's
So,
great. Yeah, the you mentioned praying with other guys. That is so powerful. If you ever prayed for a guy when a guy's going through something and you're
mhm.
talking or whatever, and stop and hey, would it be all right if I, prayed for you?
Yeah,
Oh yeah, that'd be great, man. Thanks, man. And then you stop and actually pray, and they're like, wait, what? Like
yeah.
now?
I know. I thought you were gonna do it when you got home.
Yeah, exactly, exactly.
Yeah.
So, um, yeah, if you've never done that or somebody's never done that for you, it's a very bold way to proclaim and show your faith.
Hmm.
And if your kids are around and they happen to see it, how cool is that?
Yeah. No, definitely. I love that. Or praying over your kids, or your kids praying over you. Um, power when your kids can pray over you. Or your wife prays over you.
Yeah,
Just powerful, right? So yeah, some of my most intimate times with my kids or wife are just during the prayer. Sometimes that's awkward. Like, if you haven't done it in a while, it's an awkward, uncomfortable, but the more you can do it, the more it just becomes who you are. And then, yeah, and that's who I want to be, right? It's like, again, it's like, who do you really want to be? And I want to be a prayer over my kids. I want to be that prayer warrior over my wife, right? I want that to be my first response. Um, it just takes that practice and discipline.
every morning when my kids leave, I put my thumb on their head and I give them the sign of the cross and I say, God bless you and protect you all day.
Mm.
And my youngest daughter, if for some reason we miss that, she comes, Daddy, you didn't give me my blessing. And like I almost want to cry. Like, oh,
Yeah.
thank you. Like, thank you, God, for that gift.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
hope she never loses that. Of course, kids grow older and things change and seasons change and all that. But
Hmm. But
those
she'll cherish that, and she'll remember that all of her
forever,
life.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm certain my kids are going to remember that forever and the consistency of that. Like
Hmm.
if there's one thing that I actually do well consistently, that would be one of them.
Good.
That would
That's
be one of
amazing.
them. Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. But yeah, it's just those little things that you hear from different places. And that would never have happened had I not been around another guy who, at the time of my life, he says, I pray with my kids 3 times a day. And I said, can we back up? Like he was just talking. And I said,
Hmm.
hey, I listened to you for a long time, but can we go back to what you said? Like, I don't get it. How
Yeah.
is that possible?
Yeah.
And then he broke it down and, on the way to school or when they leave, and then when I pick them up, and then dinner, and then bedtime, and then because actually it's always 4 times a day, if not five. And I was like,
Yeah.
my mind was blown. But when he had the rhythm and told me what it was, I go, oh, I can do that.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. That's awesome.
It just blew up my fantasy of impossibility and turned it into reality that day. Like I just
Yeah.
changed my routine and became aware. Here's how I get that done.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. I'm gonna probably take that.
Please do. Please do. That's
I
why we
will.
do this. Why
That's
we do
right.
this. So yeah, yeah. So what would you like to throw out to some guys? Maybe there's something that we haven't talked about that you want to share some advice or just anything for a guy who's trying to be the best Christian dad, Christian
Mm.
husband, Christian
Yeah.
son he can be.
Yeah. Um, I think, one of the things that's just been on my heart more this year than ever is that sometimes we might think of a word or something that we might want to, really do this year or pursue this
Hmm.
year. Mine was really just this integration of family into what maybe they're doing or I'm doing. How can we do more things together? I've been studying a lot on, like, we live in such an individualistic society and culture that this kid's doing that, this kid's doing that, and we're constantly being pulled in different directions. We're not unifying. So, like, I'm like, what am I doing? Um, what are they doing? And what can we do together? Like, if we want to do something together, or even a sport, like, is there a sport that we could do together as a family that could bring us closer together and integrate us. Or if I'm doing like an Iron Deep sort of thing, this isn't something that daddy does, but for example, my 16-year-old, she's coming on the mission trip with us, but then we're doing a couples event, and I said, "Do you want to serve at this? Do you want to come help and learn about the hospitality and serving? Can we do this a little bit together?" Those are just some ideas, like how can we integrate more together, or even working out. Like,
Hmm.
um, can we work out as a family? Like I've been doing some of that. So so look at what you're doing already, and can you do more things together? Can you bring your family into different things, even your work? A lot of times kids don't even know what their dad does at the end of the day. Like, what's your dad do? They have no idea what he does. So is there something, it doesn't have to be huge or anything like that, but is there something that you can bring your kids into and tell and just to integrate that into your family? Like, and then we start coming up with these mantras, like the Snodgrasses. So one thing I've been talking about with my family is the Snodgrasses are always better together. And I'll use that on lots of different things. Like, oh, you're not sharing. And man, like, isn't it so much better when we're together? Like when we do things together. Um, and it could be anything that we want to do. But that there's some different things like that I'm just trying to like integrate the family as a whole. So without doing trying to add more things, but what are you already doing in integrating it?
So as I ask guys if you can throw out a challenge for guys to do from week to week, there's been three of them already throughout this podcast, but we want to go back to one of those, or do you want to throw a new challenge out, something guys can do from this week to next week when the next podcast goes out? It can be something simpler, it can be something a little harder. And like I say,
Mm,
you already thrown out three, so we can fall back to that. But if you got something outside of that that you want,
mhm.
that's maybe a cool exercise you've done, or
Yeah. Um, yeah, I mean, I would maybe just go back to one thing is that has really helped me is, yeah, like is there some sort of like what do you want your together family to be about? Is and that you can keep coming back to, that you can say this is who we are. Maybe there's one, maybe there's two, but is there one that, instead of like disciplining, instead of don't do that, instead of, saying no to those different things, all I say is the Snodgrass are better together. Isn't it so much better when we're together? So maybe come up with a mantra for your own family. That's one thing. Probably a challenge for me, as we just talked about, is just prayer with your wife. And if you haven't done that in a while, start trying to make that a routine, and your kids too. But maybe just start with your spouse first, and then you get on the
so.
same page. Those
So
are a couple of challenges.
this will sound funny. However, it's so practical. What does a prayer with your wife sound like? Like, what are the actual words
Mm,
or formula? Or a guy's listening right now and he's thinking,
hmm
"Cool, I'm going to do that,"
hmm
and and then he's stuck.
hmm
So
Yeah.
what's the next step?
I mean, most of I think for me, it's been praying over who God designed her to be, and just praising God for that, praising him for the heart that he gave her, the things that, how much she means to him and how much she means to you. So most of my prayers is really just a praise to God over who he created her to be, not who, you want her to be and she doesn't do this right, but it's just that praise, just that gratefulness of who he created her to be. And if there's things that she needs prayer over, then we'll pray through that. Yeah, my wife, for example, it's sometimes over her health. She's really into health. She's really into being more healthy. So, I'll pray over that. But a lot of times it's just, God, thank you so much for Karen. You created her so special, a heart of just loyalty and just the glue of this family. Just thank you so much uh for saying yes to me. I can't believe, just praising him for who she is. I think just start there.
That's great. That's
Yeah.
great. So whenever I'm with my wife and we have prayer time together, that's pretty much the same thing as my prayer as well. I like the glue
Yeah.
of this family part. I'm going to use
Yeah.
that one
Yeah.
because that one's a cool one. That one's a cool one, and kind of so true too. So
Yeah.
yeah, that was really neat. I wasn't expecting to get that little bonus thing because that I believe is one of Christian man's biggest fears in their entire life is doing an individual prayer with their wife.
Yeah.
When the kids are around, cool.
Yeah. I know.
But that vulnerability with one person is so, so scary when it's our wife.
Yeah, it is because they know you. They know all of your faults, all of your fails, and that's why I think it's scary because they know you more than anybody else. So
So if guys want to connect with you, where you want to point them?
yeah, I think the best place is you can email me at Brett BRETT at irondeep.com. That's iron IRON deep DEEP.com. You can check out our website, irondeep.com. We have events that are coming up. I mentioned a lot of times the best place to start is coming to a men's awakening. We usually have one of those a year. So if you're a business guy, business leader, and you want to come to a men's awakening, we have one in September coming up. Um, but we also do other things too. So we have events on there. If you're really interested in what we're doing, like I said, we're just getting started with events, and then we're having some of these small groups branching off. But love to connect with you either way. How can I help? Can I maybe connect you to another group in your area? And however I can help. We're all in this for one singular purpose. So thank you. Thank you for having me on the show, Dan. Appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. Brett, this was fantastic. It's great to spend time with you today, but then also as you spoke, there's so many different parallels and similarities and current things going on in my life. I'm like, that's really, really cool.
Yeah. Amen. You too.
Yeah, so always great to spend time with guys in a similar space, similar families, similar things that we're working through. So,
Hmm.
guys, I hope you heard quite a few things that resonated in your life, and you have at least one thing that you're gonna use and move forward with a new tool, a new thought, a new conviction to be a better leader, to be a better family guy, to be a better husband, to learn how to love your wife better today. So. Well, Brett, it's awesome. You were super close to St. Louis, so that's really cool.
Yeah. And yeah, man, I hope the marriage retreat goes amazing tonight, and you impacted those 93 lives or 93
93
couples.
couples. Yeah,
93
yeah.
couples.
When there was only 30 couples signed up, I wasn't as over anxious or
Yeah.
excited or like the emotions of the crowd swell and just the organization go along with it, the food, the drinks, the everything in the right place at the right time. Like, oh my gosh. So
I imagine.
yeah, I'm certain it's going to go
Awesome.
well, but getting there will be an interesting one between now and then.
Yeah. No, for sure. For sure.
All right. Well, I appreciate it so much. And yeah, look forward to staying in touch. And it's cool that you're close by. And it's really, really an amazing, group that you're growing. And the book you wrote, we didn't even talk about it other than my
No, you're
brief
good.
mention of it at the beginning and the amazing writing. The
No,
writing
thank
was
you.
just fantastic. I'm like,
I
wow, this
appreciate it.
guy's like a super intellectual, wordsmith, brilliant. He's got 29 books on a shelf somewhere or something.
Yeah.
Nope, one book.
One, that's it. That's all I
And he's
got.
just like me.
That's right.
So it's cool you were in the
Amen.
closet and prayed about what to put on the next pages and that type thing. I mean, it's really, really a great, great,
Yeah.
great book. So guys,
Thank you.
you know, if you're into book reading, this one's fun. It's an easy read. It's a story. So
Yeah. Thank you. I appreciate it. I appreciate it.
yeah.
Yeah. If I just said if it impacts one life, hey, it was totally worth it.
Yep, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, thank you so much. And guys, share with your friends, rate us, review us, throw something on Apple Podcasts, send me a note. Glad to connect. Jump into our tribe, The Journey of a Christian Dad on Facebook, and catch you guys next week.
All right. Thanks, Dan. Appreciate it.
You bet. Bye, Brett.